Hi everyone, I'm Jonathan from JFrog, and today I'm super excited to introduce you to a very powerful tool called Workers. Now, Workers is an event-driven processes that intercept actions in JFrog Platform, allowing you to automate any task and enforce some custom rules at key points in your workflow. Let me set a stage with a real-world scenario so it will be easier to understand. So imagine that we are a company that stores thousands of audio files in our JFrog platforms. And with so many files being uploaded and downloaded, we need automation to ensure that no audio files containing sensitive information or secrets that accidentally get leaked. Now, to solve this, we will use two workers in our demo. The first worker is triggered when a file is uploaded. It scans the audio file for sensitive words using an external service that we will build, and then tag it if any words are found. The second worker is triggered just before a file downloaded, and it blocking the download of any file that flagged with a sensitive property. Now, by the end of this demo, you will see how workers can transform your workflow with intelligent automation and robust security. So with no further ado, let's dive in. Alright, so before we start and building our workers, let's first of all understand the logic behind our automation. So we will start with the after create worker. And here in the diagram that I created, we can see that we have actually two entities. One is the worker itself, and the other one is the external service that we will build. So the worker will work like this. First of all, a file is being created and uploaded into Artifactory. Then our worker will check whether it's an MP3 file or if it's not MP3. In case it's not MP3, we will do nothing. We will proceed with the operation and nothing will happen. But in case it is MP3, we will send this to an external service that we will build, and we will also add the relevant words that we are looking for. Then it will go to the external service. The external service will get the URL and will download the MP3 file locally. Then it will send it to the Whisper OpenAI endpoint, which will then result with a speech-to-text file. And then we will go and iterate over this text and we will search for our vulnerable words. In case nothing found, then we will end the process. But in case we did find something, then we will set the sensitive true property and we will move on. Afterwards, we will create the before download worker, which is pretty simple. The user will attempt to download the file. Then we will check whether it has the sensitive property or not. In case it doesn't have, so we will allow the download and everything will work as usual. But in case it has this property, then we will be able to block the download thanks to the worker. So now that we understand the architecture, let's dive in and see the service itself. So here we can see I created a very simple service that has and manages this logic that we want to enforce. So here I added some post endpoint name check file, which within its body get the token. And what is this token? So I don't want to have an hard-coded token, but I want to create a short-lived token from the worker itself and send it to the service so the service can use it and download the MP3 file. Then we will also provide the file URL so the service will be able to download this file and the words that we want to look for. And as we've seen before in the architecture, we will start all the process. We will then download the file. Afterwards, when the file is downloaded, we will save it locally as audio MP3. Then we will send it to the Whisper API. Once we will get it back, we have the transcript, and then we will search for the words that we are looking for. Then, if we found any word within the file, then it means that sensitive information found. Then we will extract the path and we will make a call to the properties endpoint. with a sensitive true, so we can mark the file as sensitive. So I will do some cleanup and we finish our work. Okay, so let's start by creating our first worker. And this worker is the after created worker, which, as we said before, will be responsible for sending all the relevant details to the external service that will do the analyze on the audio file. So we first of all start, this is the JFrog platform for those who are not familiar with, or the new look, and this page depends on when you watch it, but this is for another topic. We will go first to the administration tab, and then we will go to workers. So this is like the empty state of the worker page, and we will start with new event-driven worker. You also have a new HTTP trigger worker, which is kind of Lambda function, kind of serverless function that you can trigger from an external service to do operations within Artifactory. So we will go to the new event-driven worker. A variety of events. We have after build info save, after download, after move, and many more other events that we intercept, and we can whatever we want when this event happens. So as said before, in our case, we will go to the after created, so we can whether filter here or just search for after. And here we will see after create, and great. Let's start with it, and I will press on add. So we see that we get kind of internal IDE. By the way, this is TypeScript IDE, so you kind of get all the benefits from TypeScript. You see the types that you are using, and we will see it right away. So here, this is the window that we write our code in. On the right side, this is kind of the testing section, and this is a very cool feature because we can see that we have the after create request, so we immediately understand what being sent to the event. So we and here we have some example code that help us understand more quickly what's going on. We give the worker a name, a description. Then we decide on which repositories we want this worker to work on and listing. We can whether check all repositories or specific. We can also add some secrets. So let's say, well, we are working through external service and we want to save some secrets. So then we can just save my secret with a value, and then we can get it like this. Very easy, very useful. In our demo, we will not use it to keep things simple. Okay, so let's start. And first of all, I can kind of remove everything here within the try block. And let's leave the catch. And okay, let's first of all understand what we want to do. So first we want to create a short-lived token. So we will send it to our external service. Once we get this token, save the token on some const. And once we have it, we want to check if its MP3 file start the logic. Okay, so we have some if, let's say true. We want to do something, right? And what we want to do in this case is, first of all, we want to make sure that we have the repo key. So we will save the repo key from the request object that we see right here. So here we can see that we can get an access to it via meta, repo path, and key. Do it right away. So kind of const repo key equals to data dot. You see, this is like you have a auto completion that helps you get the relevant properties. So we'll check, of course, for metadata. Then we will go through repo path, and we need the key. Super easy. Now we have the repo key in our hand. Okay, great. So now that we have this, then we will need to save the audio URL that will be sent with my payload to the external service. Then we will set the payload. Here I will set my service URL. So let's say const service URL equal, let's say it's empty at this time. And lastly, we will do some let's set a payload, const payload equals, let's set it empty for now. And eventually I will fire the request. Okay, so let's say await, and then I can go through context. I get my clients. So I have two clients. First of all, I have the Axios, which I can make requests for an external service, like in our case, but I also have a platform HTTP, which you will shortly see how we use it when we create the token. So this time we will use Axios because we want to make a request for our external service. So we will make it, of course, it will be axios.post. And then we will also pass the payload. Okay, now let's scroll up and let's see our text. So let's first of all create a short-lived token. So if you remember, I said that we have a client for an internal call within my platform, so I don't need to go and create a token and do all this stuff. I just put the URL for the endpoint. So it will work like that. We'll do a token resp equal context.clients.platform HTTP. It's a post call and it goes to the endpoint of access API v1 tokens like this. Okay, so this is the URL, and then we need to pass a payload for like which token we want to create. So here, when you get like an indenting issue, you can just right click, format document, and everything is working. So I want the user ID will be user ID is audio analysis, and of course it can be whatever you like. Then expires in, I want it to be a short-lived token, so I'll set something like 300 seconds, very short. And then I pass the scope, for example, because here I want to make sure that it has only the relevant scope that I want it to have. So in our case, it's applied permissions, and it will be under the groups of readers. Of course, you can get everything through the documentation. If you are not familiar with this endpoint, it's very easy to use. Okay, so now we kind of have the token. Let's save it on some cons. So cons tokens equal to tokens resp that we just got, data.access token. Okay, so now we have the token and we can move forward and see, okay, so if something, then do something else. So we want to make sure that if it's MP3, right? So we will again use the data.metadata. So here we can see that I can, through the ID, I can get the file itself, right? So I'll go and I will do if data.metadata.repo-path.id ends with, in our case, it's MP3. Then I want to start my logic, right? Okay, so we save the repo key and let's get the audio URL. So const audio URL equals to. So In my case, it's https devrel e+.jfrog.io /artifactory, and then I will use a backtick so I can inject some variables in it. So artifactory, and then we will put the repo key, and then we will use the data.metadata.repo path, and then I need the path, like the full path. So it's like this one. And this is basically how you get the URL to download the file. So the external server will be able to download it. Then we build our payload. So we have our token. So we can kind of pass it like this, not like this. And then let's see that we have everything. Yes, great. Okay. And then after I have the token, I pass URL, which is the audio URL that we just created. And lastly, we need to pass some words. And words is like, I will pass it in a way of one string with a comma delimiter. So then I will be able to split between them in my service. So words, let's say now it's empty, but we will right away, let's make some order here. Let's format my document. Okay, so words, we can use some sensitive words, and it can be like any word, let's say secret, token, tokens in plural maybe, credentials, sensitive, and it can basically be whatever, like even Kaja, Google, whatever you like, it doesn't matter. And then I have my service URL. In this case, I will put the URL to my service. Currently, I have my service locally running on my machine in port 1337. So I will use ngrok just to make this connection between my 13337, my local machine, to the external world, so we will be able to use it. Okay, so I will do it actually right away. So here you can see I'm just running ngrok and I'm getting some URL. In this case, I will copy it and I will move it to another location. So this is my service URL, but it's not only the service URL, but we need to use the specific endpoint. So it's check file. All right. And as we did before, this is the last part of doing the analyze of my process. So we kind of do this context client and send the post with all the details. So, okay, cool. We kind of have this ready and we can launch it right away. But I want to show you something cool. Now we want to debug and kind of test it before we launch it. So if you remember here, we have this check with MP3, but we can also see what happens if it's not getting inside. So for example, let's do console log, not MP3. And if it gets into the if statement, so it's a MP3 with some panic. Okay, so now if I'll go and kind of run this, it will trigger the worker with this request object. So let's run it. And we see that we get the data of message proceed because we returned it right here. And the execution status is success. We can also get the metrics about how much CPU it took and how much memory. And we can also see some execution logs. So we see that it's not MP3. And we also see that it happens because we send it with my file. So of course, it's not MP3, but then I want to check maybe if I'll add this .mp3, let's see what's going on. Any guess? You guess it right. Let's run it. And now we get that it's MP3 because it's getting this request, so we can see that our logic is working as expected. Okay, let's give our worker a name. Let's call it analyze audio. Description, analyzing MP3 files for sensitive words. And in our case, we will use the generic dev local. This is my repo that I created. I want to use it because I don't want to pollute my environment, and I want to use only this repo. Okay, now we have this, we can save it, but we also give you this enable to make you opt in, to make sure that you know what you are doing. So enable this, and then I will save it. Okay, great. Our worker is now ready, and we can start immediately, see if it's working. All right, so now that we have our worker in place, we still need to do a slight change, and is about permission, because in our service, we want to do an annotation. We want to add a new property. We need to have the readers group to have this permission, so we will not get an N403 error code. Now, you can do it with a specific group permission, or whatever you like, or any token that you want to create. So just to make it simple, I will just change the reader group's permission, so we will not get a 403 error. So let's make this change really quick. So I will go under the permission section. I will go to, let me get this bigger, administration, user management, and then permission. I will go to the anything permission name, because under this permission we have the readers group. Now it has only read, so all we need to do is just give it an annotate, or again, create your own group and give it with the relevant permission. It doesn't matter, just to keep it simple. And I'll save it. Okay, great. So now let's first of all, I'll try to add two files, and let me open my server so we can see the logs. So I created two audio files. Okay, so I have these two files. First one is boring conversation with nothing interesting in it, and the other one is conversation with sensitive data. And this is just a normal boring conversation that has nothing interesting in it. A super boring conversation, nothing interesting about it. The second one is, so this is an audio file on a conversation that's talking about tokens, credentials, passwords, sensitive data, and other different secrets that I don't want to reveal to anyone else. So I'm talking here about secrets, credentials, sensitive data. It might be a suspicious file that I want to mark with a sensitive property. Okay, so let's start with uploading these files, and I'll start with uploading the boring conversation first. So I'm uploading it, and here we can see immediately the external service get it, download, sending to Whisper, receive the words, give me the transcript, and found words is empty. Okay, this is good. I mean, well, it was a boring conversation with nothing. But now let's upload the conversation itself and see what's going on. So let me clear these logs and let's give it another try. And again, immediately it's getting into action, downloading, sending to Whisper, getting all the words, and even tell me that it has some found words. So sensitive information found, and immediately we also get that file metadata updated. Okay, that's cool. Now let's go to our applications, and let's go to artifacts, and let's see the files and the annotation that it got, the properties. So I'll go to audio. First of all, I'll go to the boring conversation. I'll see that it has nothing under the properties. Then I'll click on the conversation, and we see that it has the sensitive true property. which is good. And now we want to block this from being downloaded, right? So I'll go to the workers, and I created in advance this block sensitive download. Let's go inside, and we see that I'm doing again, I'm checking if it's MP3. Then I'm sending a request to the properties endpoint to get the properties of the artifact. And then if it has this sensitive true, I will first for log it, and then I will change the status to download stop. And this is something that you get auto completion for, so you don't need to memorize the status types. So here you see the download stop. I will use it. Otherwise, I want to proceed the download, and if some error happen, I want to proceed. Again, I can stop it. It's up to you what you decide and what's working for you. Eventually, I return the status and the message, so I can see that everything is working as expected. Again, I can do all the testing here, so I will know if it will get blocked or not. But for now, let's save it. And, let's try to download this file. So I'll go to applications, under artifacts, it gets me right back. So first of all, let's try to download the conversation. And we see that we are able, this is the previous one. So let me clear my downloads. Okay, cool. Again, so we are trying to download conversation. Oh, right, conversation. It's blocked. I cannot download it. And if I'll try to download the boring conversation, so we can see that everything is working. But let's try to resume maybe the conversation. And again, I cannot download it. It's always blocked by Artifactory. So I know that I'm safe and no one can get this file unless me as an admin get rid of this property. Again, it's about permission and all that, but I mean, it's all about creativity and flexibility. Do whatever you like. So there you have it. JFrog Workers are your ultimate tool to extend and enhance the JFrog platform. Whether it's streamlining workflows, boosting security, or automating repetitive tasks, Workers can give you the flexibility to tailor the platform to your exact needs. And by embedding some custom logic right into your execution flows, you can take complete control of your software supply chain, making it smarter, faster, and more secure. But here's where it gets exciting. We want to hear from you. What ideas do you have for using JFrog Workers? What challenges are you looking to solve? Or what creative solution have you already thought of? Drop your thoughts in the comments or reach out with your questions. Let's collaborate and push boundaries of what's possible together. Your ideas could inspire the next big things to the JFrog platform. Till then, this is Jonathan. Peace out.